Keynesian Economics Explained: How it works and why it matters. Today's economy is extremely volatile and unpredictable, which makes it difficult for individuals, businesses, and governments to make sound economic decisions. This volatility can be incredibly challenging when trying to maintain the level of economic confidence that is needed for growth and stability. In response to the Great Depression, which swept the world in the 1930s and early 1940s, a British economist named John Maynard Keynes came up with an economic theory that is designed to reduce the impact of economic fluctuations. This theory is called Keynesian economics, and it posits that government intervention is necessary in order to stabilize the economy. How exactly does Keynesian economics work, and what does it mean for the economy? This is Capitalist Domain, and in today's video, we'll be discussing this particular theory in detail. So, let's get started. What exactly is Keynesian economics? In the early 1930s, the world was plunged into an economic depression. The Great Depression, as it came to be known, was a time of great hardship for people all over the globe. Businesses were closing, workers were losing their jobs, and people everywhere were struggling to make ends meet. In the midst of this economic turmoil, Keynes published a groundbreaking economic theory called Keynesian economics in his book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money in 1936. This theory states that government intervention is necessary to stabilize the economy and prevent mass unemployment, recession, and other economic problems. At its core, Keynesian economics is based on the idea that aggregate demand drives the economy. This means that the overall level of spending in an economy is what drives economic growth and prosperity. In order to keep this demand at healthy levels, Keynes advocated for government policies that intervene in the market to stimulate demand during times of recession or stagnation. It is one of the most influential schools of thought in modern economic theory, which focuses on the role that government intervention can play in influencing economic growth and stability. During times of low growth or recession, for example, governments may implement policies such as increased government spending or tax cuts to stimulate economic activity. While there are many criticisms of Keynesian economics and its effectiveness in promoting long-term growth and stability, it continues to be a widely used framework for understanding how government policies can impact the economy. Today, many countries around the world still rely on Keynesian principles to guide their fiscal policy decisions. Whether you agree with Keynesian economics or not, it is an important framework that has had a significant impact on modern economic theory. In contrast to traditional economic theories that focus on supply and demand, Keynesian economics highlights the importance of aggregate demand in driving economic growth. For example, Keynesian economics would suggest that during a recession, the government should take steps to increase aggregate demand through stimulus measures such as tax cuts or increased government spending. The key ideas of Keynesian economics can be summarized in what is known as the aggregate demand model. This model suggests that economic activity is determined by the level of aggregate demand in the economy. Aggregate demand is the total amount of goods and services demanded by all consumers, businesses, and governments in an economy. This model highlights the fact that it is not always easy for businesses to adjust their prices in response to changes in aggregate demand. For example, if consumer demand for a good or service falls, businesses may not be able to reduce their prices quickly enough to match the new level of demand. This can lead to a decrease in production and jobs as businesses cut back on their output. One of the key principles underlying Keynesian economics is the concept of fiscal stimulus. This involves government intervention in the economy through tax cuts or increased spending to encourage consumption during periods of low growth or recession. For example, a government may provide tax incentives for businesses to invest in new projects, or it may offer aid to individuals who have lost their jobs due to an economic downturn. Counter-cyclical spending, on the other hand, refers to government spending that is increased during a recession in order to stimulate the economy. For example, a government may decide to invest in infrastructure projects such as building new roads or hospitals during a period of low economic growth. This can help stimulate job creation and boost consumer demand for goods and services during a recession. How has this theory changed over time? While there have been many changes to this theory over time, Keynes believed that the cyclical fluctuations in economic growth were caused by inadequate private demand. For example, if businesses are not making enough profits or consumers are not buying enough goods, then businesses will not invest in new products or services and may even lay off workers to save costs. This lowers consumer spending even further, creating a vicious cycle where people lose their jobs and have less money to spend, leading to even more job losses. In response to this, Keynes proposed that the government should step in and increase its own spending during economic downturns. This will help to create jobs and boost consumer spending, leading to a stronger economy. While there have been many variations of Keynesian economics since it was first proposed, this is still the basic idea behind it. During times of recession or financial crisis, Keynesian economics can be a powerful tool for helping to stabilize the economy. By increasing government spending and creating jobs, it can help to get people spending again and kickstart economic growth. It can also help reduce inequality as during boom times, the wealthy can disproportionately benefit from higher levels of economic growth. By using Keynesian economics to stabilize the economy, governments can help ensure that everyone benefits from the growth created, leading to a more equitable society. Main criticisms of Keynesian economics. It can be argued that the Keynesian economics doesn't always work in the real world. One of the main criticisms is that it can lead to inflationary pressures. When government spending increases, it can result in an increase in demand for goods and services. This in return can lead to higher prices or inflation. Another criticism is that it can be difficult to know how much government spending is needed to stimulate the economy. Too much government spending could lead to inflationary pressures, while too little could result in a continued recessionary environment. Some economists also say that Keynesian economics represents a short-term fix rather than a long-term solution. They argue that while Keynesian economics may help to boost economic activity in the short term, it doesn't address the underlying economic problems that are causing stagnation in the first place. Despite these criticisms, Keynesian economics remains an important theory in modern economics. It continues to play a role in policy decisions around the world and has been cited as one of the factors behind recent economic successes. Ultimately, although there are challenges associated with Keynesian economics, its impact on global economies cannot be ignored. The future of Keynesian economics. In the world of economics, there have always been competing schools of thought. One of the most debated areas within economics is Keynesian economics, which focuses on the need for government intervention in the economy to prevent downturns and promote growth. While some economists believe that this approach is outdated and no longer relevant in today's world, others insist that Keynesian economics has a strong role to play in shaping the future of our global economy. At its core, Keynesian economics advises looking at the big picture to understand how different economic forces are interconnected. Rather than focusing on certain sectors or markets, it encourages policymakers to consider how changes in one area can impact many others. Furthermore, by considering aggregate demand and aggregate supply when making decisions about fiscal policy or monetary policy, Keynesian economics help promote overall stability in the economy and prevent extreme fluctuations between periods of prosperity and recession. While there are challenges ahead for proponents of Keynesian economics, there is still much to be gained from this approach to economic analysis and decision-making. Whether we like it or not, our global economic system is becoming increasingly interconnected, which means that individual nations must work together if we want to make meaningful progress as a global community. And with governments already pulling back on spending in the aftermath of a major recession, it is more important than ever that policymakers have an effective toolkit at their disposal to respond to future downturns. With this in mind, we believe that Keynesian economics has a vital role to play in shaping our global economy for decades and centuries to come. Whether you agree or disagree with its principles, it's hard to deny that we can't afford to ignore this important theory when thinking about the future of our economy. As always, we welcome questions in the comments section below and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on Keynesian economics. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more contents like this. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. See you next time!